this short lesson, we shall be talking about a very important concept in operating system, and that's process and process state. Now, generally in the beginning, computer systems allows only one program to be executed at a time. In other words, if you opened, let's say, a program like a Microsoft Word program, it is only that program that can be run or that can be opened. You cannot open any other application, let's say a VLC, Windows Media Player, a VLC or Windows Media Player. So it then means that by the time you open a single program, this program had a complete control of the system and had access to all the system resources. And by having access to all the system resources, I refer to the memory. I also referred to the processor CPU and other I/O resources. Now, however, in today's computers, we allowed multiple programs to be loaded into memory and executed concurrently or at the same time. Now, as a result of this requires, a firmer control and more compartmentalization of the various programs. And that's why you can see that today on your system, on your phone, you can open several tabs consisting of several programs, and all of them could be loaded onto your computer memory and run simultaneously. Now, as a result of this, that is why the notion of a process was being invented. And by a process, we simply means that, in the parlance of operating system, a process is generally defined as a program in execution. So process generally represents the smallest unit of work in a modern time-sharing system. Now, it is also important to note that when a process is launched in a computer system or any mobile device, the process will actually need certain resources, such as the CPU time, the memory files, and your I/O devices in order to accomplish a task. Now, as a result, these very particular resources are either allocated while the process is running or at the instant of the creation of such a process. Now, it is also important to know that once a process has been created, as the process executes, it generally changes its state, that is the state in which the process can be. For example, we know in physics that water can exist in various states. Water can exist in either the solid state, the liquid state, or the gaseous state. So also, the processes, in an operating system can also assume several states depending on what they are doing at each particular time. Now, it is important to note that a process can be in any of these 5 states that I've highlighted here. In other words, the first state is that the process could be in a new state. And by being in a new state, it means it is at that point that the process is being created. And the process could also be in a running state. By running state, it simply means that the process is undergoing execution. In other words, work is being done. A process could also be in the waiting state. The process in a waiting state, it means that process is actually waiting to receive some further intermediary command, let's say from I/O, or the completion or the reception of a signal. Now, the process could also be in the ready state. In other words, the process is waiting to be assigned to a processor. So, and then finally, and not the least, the process could be in the terminated state. And by being in the terminated state, it simply means that the process has finished execution. Now, in the next slide that I'm going to show you, the next slide simply just gives you what we call the process state transition diagram, which is a very, very important diagram that is used to discuss the concept of processes and process states and transition. And it is important to take note that during any test or exam, whenever you are asked to discuss the concept of processes and process states, it is important for such a discussion to be accompanied with this important diagram. So you can see here that this diagram depicts what we call the process state transition diagram. And as you can see, it has neatly highlighted all the 5 different states that I've highlighted. So in other words, the process is a new state when it is being created. And of course, when the process is being created, the process can then be admitted into the ready state. In other words, the process is waiting to be assigned a processor. And you could see the cycle that the process could enter the ready state. From the ready state, the process could then be in the running state. In other words, the process is executing. At this point, it is either the process finishes executing and the process is terminated, or while the process is running, there might be the need for the process to do I/O operation. So in other words, the process will then be placed into the waiting state until the input-output request is being completed. Now, once the I/O is completed, the process will then move out from the waiting state into the ready state before it will then be assigned to the processor for running. It is also possible that while the process is also running, as a result of an interrupt, the process could also be placed into the ready state. So that's, in a nutshell, is what we mean by process in operating system and all the different states that such a process could be. I hope the information I've provided here has been very, very informative, and I would like to thank you for watching. Thank you.